And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to The Buzz. We are happy and excited to bring you our first live Facebook broadcast. And we have three lovely ladies that volunteered their time tonight. And we actually um, um, thought that was wonderful that they were the first people to make sure this adventure was going to happen tonight. We're sorry for the delay. We had a couple of technical difficulties, but we ironed them out. And so we're ready to go. And the purpose of this live broadcast is to stay connected, to kind of keep everyone in the loop, and to catch up with everyone. Just think it's been 50 years since we have been in I was going to say college, but it's high school. And I'm sure a lot has happened with everyone. So it would be nice to hear what everyone's doing now and to catch up a little bit and to fulfill you with information on our upcoming 50th class reunion. So let me introduce Diane Coburn Martin, Mary Ellen Spazzato Rogers, and Sylvia Smythe Stedman. So great to see you guys. Always a pleasure to visit with you. So how are you all doing?
Good. Looking forward to seeing how this will work, and hopefully many more classmates will join in.
Yeah, exactly. I think it'll be fun. It's just very low key, and it's again just to kind of see where everyone's at and pass on information. So we're running with a little bit of a general script, but this is just very informal. But I just wanted to ask all of you, it has been 50 years since you have been in high school. So if you could just share a little bit of information about where have you been all these years and what have you been doing from then till now? Diane, I think we'll start with you.
Okay. Well, let's see. How do I want to start this? 50 years. Oh my God, I can't even believe it. And I've been talking to many different classmates here and there, trying to update our class list. And I think we're all in disbelief that 50 years has gone by so fast. And I'm pretty amazed that we can do this over the internet. And 50 years ago, we didn't have that kind of situation.
I know.
But where has 50 years taken us, or me? Gosh, I got out of graduated, and I went to dental school up in Rochester, New York, and came back to Westerly, worked in oral surgery and four-handed dentistry, and that was interesting. I did love oral surgery. And then Dean and I were married in 1973. We have two great kids, Taylor and Christopher. And Taylor lives in Mystic. Christopher's down south in Tampa. And I have a wonderful grandchild, Silas. We raised our children in North Stonington, great little community. My passions back then were, of course, the children and sports and running around and PTO and cottage type gardening I loved. And of course, I kept writing a little bit too. We divorced, unfortunately, and I live in Hope Valley now on a small farm, always welcoming people here too. I worked as an office manager for Dr. John McGowan for, 23 years. And a lot of you classmates might remember Dr. McGowan because he was our local pediatrician with Dr. Frey years ago. And then he went on to allergy immunology. So I was a dictational typist. We didn't have things like now that we just talk into and they appear. We had to listen with earphones and foot pedals and type all our medical stuff. I also co-founded In Harmony Therapeutic Writing, which was a real cool thing that I did for many years. We worked with many different populations, focusing on a lot of special needs. We also had an able-bodied program, which was cool. We did vaulting and a lot of riding, and then I got into more dressage riding, and then I began my private lesson program here. Then became, 25 years ago, a 4-H leader in Rhode Island and Connecticut. And then I was the liaison between URI, which is our land grant university for 4-H, and UConn. and helped run their 4-H horse program. It was a wonderful thing to get back into mentoring kids and lessons and horse camps and things like that. And then my husband, Mickey, and we've run a transport business for years. We're out of that right now, but we do a lot of commercial. We have some commercial real estate in Exeter, Rhode Island that keeps us busy. And we have our little Airbnb cottage. And the reunion, that's been keeping me a little busy this year too. So looking forward to the reunion soon.
I didn't realize that you were involved in therapeutic horseback riding, Diane. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good venture. Yeah.
Oh, that's very special. Well, it sounds like you've been very busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mary Ellen, do you want to share some light?
Sure. Every time I think of horses, I think of Diane. Because when we were kids, you and your parents were so kind and would invite us down to ride. And yep, you always come to mind. So yeah. So I went to Providence College in the second class of females, which was really an education. And Wendy had mentioned on one of our reunion calls about Title IX and how, we were kind of at the cusp of that. And that really made all the difference, but was also very challenging. So I majored in social work and actually met my husband at PC. We got married the end of my junior year. He had just finished, just graduated. So he went to Hartford, and I ended up staying on campus for my senior year, which was really interesting, not fun. But left, went down to Hartford, did a couple of social work jobs, and then I went to work at the Travelers in their executive training program, and I ended up in human resources and eventually as director of staffing and recruiting for the nation, executives and attorneys. And in my practice there, I noticed that we were hiring very high level females and they were leaving because they couldn't find adequate or quality childcare. Supply was just deplorable. So I gathered up some of my buddies from the Aetna and the major banks in town and Hartford Steam Boiler, and we started a consortium to recruit and train childcare providers, elder care providers, so that people could comfortably work. That kind of pulled me into the whole sphere of work life back in the early 80s. And then for my own work life issues, so we had our first son in 81 and our second one came along in 86. And my husband was in international investing. So he was on the road a lot. And we both couldn't be on the road all the time. One of us had to quit. I made less money, honestly. So I was it. And when I left, I said to my colleagues, oh, I'm going to start a consulting business. And, honestly, if I hadn't said that to them, I may never have done that, but I did and just got lucky. United Technologies was one of my clients, and they came to me for consulting, and they came to me in 92. I had just finished up at graduate school at UConn for social work, and they said, oh, you want to do an employee assistance program for us? You could probably do it from home part-time. I said, sure. Within a month, I was out of my house in an office, and eventually 40 employees later, we were the EAP to every McDonald's restaurant in the nation, Bank One, all of UTC, ESPN, many large companies. And it was very interesting and challenging. I was on call 24/7, literally. Um, I can, basically, in terms of, yeah, I think about people who are so great and they, can physically take care of others, nurses and doctors and such. And I could never, I would like probably pass out. But basically, I've talked hundreds of people at least down, from suicidal things and other issues like that over the years. So at the end of 2007, sorry, I keep losing my earbud. At the end of 2007, we had a number of acquisition offers. And so we accepted one with Centene Corporation out of St. Louis. Sorry. Hope you can you still hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. Um, And so I went to work for them for 3.5 years as vice president of product development. And again, I was the only woman on the C suite, which was really interesting. I was also at that point a trustee of Providence College for 9 years. And in the beginning, there were about 38 people, and there were two nuns and I, and two other older women who were wives of very wealthy alumni. So it was, again, that Title IX thing kept coming to pass throughout my career. And then 3.5 years later, you have a transition contract basically where you have to stay for that long. And it just, it's really hard to kind of sell your heart and in the way we did things. I never put a limit on profitability. It was kind of like if somebody needs to talk because they're depressed or they have an issue, stay on the phone for as long as you want to my call center. But then my employees who came with me were being limited in terms of time, and I got it. I understood why they were publicly traded, but it was just different. So I left, and now I do consulting, training. I'm the executive coach for Comcast Corporation, and I do some HR consulting work as well, which I love. I have some flexibility. It's a lot busier following the pandemic as it is for all behavioral health people. But in the meantime, we had a second child who his name is Fran Rogers, and actually he sings the national anthem for the Red Sox, the Patriots, occasionally, and the Celtics a lot. And then I had a late life surprise baby when I was 42. And she just got married this past summer. So, it's been a blessing and many challenges, as well as, believe me, many challenges over the course of time, as I think we all go through. So
Mhm.
that's it.
Wow, such important work, Mary Ellen. You made a difference.
It's just been, it's a blessing,
Very nice.
and it's been rewarding.
Wow, wonderful. So sounds like you've been busy as well. Uh, let's move on to Sylvia. Actually, Sylvia is our special guest tonight. She popped on. We were so happy to admit that she wanted to come on and be part of the show, and she came on at last minute. And we are so happy that you came on. So catch us up, Sylvia.
Thank you. Well, after those two powerhouses, I feel a little shy to say anything, believe me. But
Oh,
my life has been very simple. I did a lot of what we used to call secretarial work, and I also worked in real estate for a while. Originally at the University of Rhode Island for music, which I love still to this day, and I'm trying to get back on the horse playing my clarinet. But it just wasn't my thing. I was interested in performing and not in the theory of it. So I decided I'd do something else with my hands, and I went into the secretarial end of it, which I'll tell you later has a lot to do with what I did in high school. But I did that. I also ended up working as a manager for a bank, doing design work and the creative end. That's where I stay. I'm more the creative type person, and I enjoyed that. And then unfortunately, I was in a bad car accident, which kind of curtailed any advancement. And I've been able since 2020. No, see my brain, 2010. I'm way off. I think it was earlier than that actually. So basically, what I do now is I listen to my family's problems. I have three strong boys. Two live together in New Hampshire, and one lives with us still. And he takes me to all the great kid. And it's a good thing I had three boys because my husband made it very clear from the beginning, no girls. It's going to be all boys. And he's there, so he seems to think that he had a lot to do with that because he planned to
Sylvia, are you still there?
Me?
Sylvia? Oops, I think she
froze.
froze, which sometimes happens with these streaming sources. That's just what it is. Sylvia, can you hear us? If you can hear us, if you want to go out and come back in, that may help. So while Sylvia is trying to get back on, I think we'll move on to that. That was wonderful to hear everyone's life story, and all in many different directions, but all very meaningful. So it's nice to hear where everyone was and how everyone progressed in their future. So while we're waiting for Sylvia to come back in, Diane and Mary Ellen, how has Westerly High School influenced you to where you are today? That's kind of an important question because, obviously we go through high school, we don't think too much out of it. But then, we say, okay, this happened because, this one person was very influential or whatever. But, share some light on that.
Do you want me to go first, or
whoever wants to go first?
Okay.
Okay.
Let's see. How did Westerly High influence me? I think it's not just Westerly High. It was our Westerly community. And many of us as classmates have known each other since early elementary school. Some of us going to State Street, some to Tower Street. But the strong sense of community was so important. And you look back on it and it was just a unique time. It was a unique place that we lived in. It was a fabulous time. And we were all pretty close. When I tell people of our class and how we are, I just talked to a few classmates this week, and it's like we picked up where we left off. It's crazy. It's great. But I was thinking about that today. I think my takeaway from a lot of this, and I used to teach my children this and mentor my 4-Hers, is the awareness of how you need to treat others in a group setting or school or whatever. Not just high school, my 4-H, like I said, or Girl Scouts, right, Mary Ellen? We were in Girl Scouts, yeah.
Yeah.
And we had parents that we were lucky to have that shaped us as kids. They got us involved in all the other community aspects. And the teachers at Westerly High, they were so caring back then. They really were. I mean, we might have had a few that we could have chosen different teachers or whatever, but I think they really cared for our well-being and our education. And I mean, you think about it as a teacher, I would never be able to be a teacher in that kind of a setting and that many kids. And that's quite challenging. But I think it only takes a few minutes or seconds to really be friendly and put a smile on people's faces. And I do have a recollection of going to Walgreens in Westerly one day, and we had a Westerly High classmate that was, I guess you'd say the diagnosis would have been agoraphobic, somebody that was afraid to go out of their house, which is also, that extends to someone that's being afraid of being embarrassed or being afraid of not being able to get away or whatever. And she said to me, thank you for being kind to me back then.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, we had, you learn the pecking order in school. We saw our children go through it. And I think, yes, we had our groups that we hung around with. Yes, there were cliques, if you will, back then. But I think the takeaway for me was to really, really treat people with dignity, and, we've had some Zoom meetings, and some of the people in Zoom have said high school was not fun for me. And And I feel terrible about that because it was fabulous for me. I was kind of there more for the social aspect than, than the other stuff, but it was a great time. And I really do think it was the awareness of being able to, you know, treat people kindly. Yeah.
Yeah,
You're right. Yep.
absolutely. Absolutely.
And I can't tell you how many times. So we lived in the Hartford suburbs for 43 years, raised our kids there. And so we had a home here as well. So we would come every summer and spend a good part of the summer here. And if you look at any of my kids' social media sites, even from when they were in high school in West Hartford, they would always say that their hometown was Westerly, Rhode Island.
Wow.
And and you know, the reason why is exactly what you said. It's that community. It's the fact
Mhm.
that, you know, like the Cheers song that says everybody knows your name and everybody
Yeah.
cares. And it's
Mhm.
the entire community. The strength of that. I was reading in the paper, I don't know, this week sometime about the two young women who started the 5K again. They're seniors at Westerly High, and the entire community was involved. And I think you're absolutely right about that. And yeah, we had teachers who really cared. You know, many of those teachers had been there from the beginning of their career, and they were, gosh, you try to think about how they looked a lot older than I feel right now, but they probably weren't, you know. And you know, if you did or said anything, you
Mm.
would get a phone call that afternoon.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I have a part-time employee actually who used to be my full-time employee when we had the bigger business, and she's also a social worker telling me goes on and how, you know, they'll call a parent about something like a fourth grader who's sharing inappropriate photos of themselves on social media, and parents just don't care. And I think, Diane, you're right. The strength of it is that, you know what, my mother knew your mother, and, you know, they'd reach out to each other, and
Yeah.
everybody in town knew or knew somebody who knew. And I think the strength of that was tremendous.
Mhm.
It was that culture of integrity and respect and truly caring about people. And
Yeah.
that's what we took forward. And I think that made all the difference. So I
Yeah.
think you're absolutely right. You know, it was the village raised
Mhm.
all of us, right? You know, that Hillary Clinton phrase, but I think it's really true. It does take a village.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think you're right. High school was just an extension, you know. The
Mhm.
hardest thing, although I loved every second of my life at Providence College, and you know that just seemed so much fun. But leaving Westerly in August of 1973 was just really hard.
Mm.
You know, it really was.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think both you ladies are right on. I think Westerly is a wonderful community. I actually came onto the scene in high school in 10th grade. I came from a little hometown in Massachusetts. And you know, I did get the sense of community, you know, after a couple of years of getting adjusted. And I have to say, now that I'm in my older years, I love Westerly. It's really like my second home. And the folks that I've met through helping with the reunion event has been really beneficial for me because there's people that you know I didn't know really in school that I've gotten to know,
Mhm.
and what's nice about it is that my gosh, they're so nice and so endearing and so caring and helpful, and you know yeah, it's just wonderful that I can say that. And so you know
That's good.
i'm I'm happy that you know I'm part of the process, because in school I was just very quiet. You know, it was hard getting used to a new school after leaving all your friends and extended family. You know, I had so many friends in my old hometown. I had a lot of extended family members that I'd see like all the time. You're a close knit family. And leaving that was very tough. And so I was super shy in school. But when I got it to a senior, in my senior year, obviously I was in the play and, things were, better, but it was hard to adjust. And, I have fond memories of Wesley High School. So,
It's really funny because sometimes we think that about ourselves, but I never, because, I always thought of you kind of as part of our little crowd, and
Yeah.
I never thought of you as quiet. I used to think of you as really fun.
oh,
So,
well, that's good to know.
you know,
Yeah. Well, thank you, Mary Ellen. I appreciate that.
Good.
Sylvia just said she's trying to get back in, but she's having a lot of difficulty. But we'll be able to have her on again. I think we were going to talk to
Absolutely.
her about band and things
Yes.
like that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Sylvia was also one I remembered in school, and I always remember her. And even to this day, has not changed. Her personality is sweet and outgoing and just caring and just, I was like, my God, she's so good, and she's gone through so much. So anyway, but let's move on to the next little question. Just name a favorite memory of high school.
Wow.
There's probably a million of them.
Well, when we were talking about this on Zoom, getting ready for this, the first thing that came to my mind was release time. That was a favorite of mine. A lot of shenanigans went on during release time. I mean, God, that was crazy for them to.
She's
Here
on.
she is.
Yeah.
I did love the social aspect of it. I love people. I love.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
That's okay. You're back now.
You're back.
And then another thing I was thinking about today, there was a trip to Boston, I think it was, with Mr. Gibson. He brought us to see Jesus Christ Superstar.
Oh,
And
wow.
that poor man put up with us. We did talk about shenanigans on the back of the bus that day. But we gave him a little run for the money. And I liked Mrs. Fletcher's class. I loved dissecting cats. And
Yeah.
I didn't like the smell. But I loved those kind of things. I do like that gory stuff, but
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that of you.
and then I thought too of when we were graduating, it was a final time. And I remember back then it was our graduating the dinner down at on the way to Watch Hill.
Oh, yeah.
The party that I think Terry Ann had at the
Well, this was the big dinner. They've taken that building, Lion Gate Inn.
Yeah, that
something like that.
The night after graduation, Terry Ann had at the Lion Gate Inn. Remember that?
Okay.
But the dinner, I remember that dinner that was actually organized kind of by the school and the teachers were there. Was at that hotel in Mystic. I don't know what it was at the time.
Oh yeah.
It was new then. I think it's abandoned now. It was 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But
being together, I think, and then today I'm thinking, can we all believe that marijuana is legalized now? After all that stuff back then, I mean, you could go to jail.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm sure there's many more. Dances were fun, all that sort of stuff was fun. Football games. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Could I just clear up something? After we graduated, didn't we have a big party, and wasn't John Cafferty playing at that party in the Beaver Brown Band?
I don't remember.
I know it was a long time ago.
That's probably not why I don't remember, but I don't know.
For some reason, I thought that they played. I mean, does anyone remember that? We've got to find that out, because I was just thinking about that the other day. But
remember all the parties down at the beach?
Yeah.
All the cottage parties and things like that. That I was forbidden to go down there, but
oh, thank you. We felt so out of this. That station wagon wasn't heading down there. Totally, my parents and the bellies would go cruising to make sure we were out.
That's funny.
Oh.
Oh gosh. So, Sylvia, do you have any memories of school? Favorite memories of high
Oh
school?
yeah. Mr. Gibson, I class and saying, "Oh my God, this is what history's all about." If I'd only known, because we had him for world. It's like a civics. He really turned me on to history,
That's cool.
and I
Nice.
enjoyed that, and I really enjoyed the play we were in. I know
Oh
you
yeah,
liked that, Kim. That was
Senior
fun.
Pimpernel.
Or
I loved
Senior
that.
Pimpernel.
Yeah, yeah. That started me to be more
And I
involved in
loved
theater.
playing in the band at all the football games.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was awesome.
And the
That's
Beatles really made those football games.
But
yeah,
I loved going to the football games. Those were the best.
yeah, yeah,
It was fun. All the times on the Westerly post office steps when
Yeah.
Stonington would come in and we'd be cheering and not have voices for
yeah.
the week after.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
It's fun.
We bear meat, wasn't that it?
And we weren't afraid, were we? I mean, nowadays you'd be afraid being in that kind of a crowd.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, Mary Ellen, do you have any fond memories?
Lots, actually. So Diane mentioned release time, and that was definitely fun. And I know, Diane, you probably did this too. We used to do the Chinese fire drills during
Oh
the
yeah.
year. Oh, yes, it is that. I would kill my kids if they did that. And we'd see how many people we could get into a Volkswagen Bug, and I think our all-time record was mine. It was Ed Spazano's
It's
Volkswagen.
Pisano.
Yep, Eddie.
Yep.
Yep. And we would have parties actually on the beach, but they were at Sharon's grandmother's house, so
Yeah,
of course
yeah.
my kids let me go.
Yeah.
Then, oh gosh, I used to love ski club. Did any of you guys belong to ski club?
Yeah.
We did trips up north, the weekend trips. Those were wonderful. The like haystack and snow and stuff like that, and even Monday night skiing
Yeah,
was fun.
yeah.
And yeah, just so much. You're right, and so much of it. Oh, I love the basketball games too.
Mm,
Yeah.
You know, there was always something to do
Yeah.
on Friday night.
it's
Usually,
fun.
Nothing
Yeah.
but good memories.
Yeah, definitely good memories. I always remember, I know Diane probably would have really enjoyed this because she likes the dissecting piece, but I remember, and I think I put it on social media, but the can of earthworms were like huge. They were like snakes. They were huge. And I remember, I don't know who my lab partner was, but I refused to touch them. I mean, I was terrible. I couldn't do it. And I was like, okay, I'll watch. I'll make sure you do it right. However it was.
Yeah.
That was like the grossest class ever, you know.
so do you remember when we had to put a straw into the cat's trachea and make its lungs work?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
David for me. It was bad. And
I
so
think the smell of formaldehyde used to be so
awful.
gross.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's horrible. That
those
was horrible.
cabins in that back room.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was really bad for us.
I know. I know.
That's what's happened to all of us. We don't remember anything. So
Well, we all
formaldehyde.
have our
Formaldehyde fumes. Woo.
Well, my first
our
social work
families.
out of school, I worked for the town of Weathersfield, and they had this deal with the nature center was on the same floor of the building as social services. So the youngest social worker would have to go in when the guy went out on the road to pick up like roadkill. He used to stuff the roadkill. The youngest social worker would have to go in the back, and they had boa constrictors and rattlesnakes and stuff.
Oh boy.
And you had to take live white mice, pull them by
Oh,
the tail out of these bins, and drop them in those tanks. And I almost had to quit my job. Like
Oh
I had to
wow.
the town manager and say, "Sorry, I'm going to either have
Oh
to
my
leave or
gosh.
something else."
That's
So
a
they
little much.
the adolescents at night, which was
Yeah.
probably worse, but
that's
you know,
on.
yeah. So yeah, and that was I used to think of those cats then. Yeah.
Yes. You know, just one real quick before we move on, but I remember this clearly as day. And actually, the other day I was thinking about this, but this has followed me forever since I graduated from high school. But do you remember well, I guess it was chaos. We looked like a herd of cattle when the bell rang, and wasn't it at 2:15 to go catch a bus? I
Wow.
remember one day, because I was on the third floor, I think, my locker, and my heel got caught on that top step. And you know how when you try to break your fall, you end up going faster? I was like lickety split 200 miles an hour down the stairs, and everyone was a blur. And I was passing everyone to try to catch my fall. And I went down all the flights of stairs, and I ended up at the very bottom and stepped down. I had sweat all over my brow. And I was like, did a big sigh, and I looked around, and I'm like, okay, gotta go get the bus now. It was like I remember that to this day. It was like
Yeah.
the stupidest thing, but that could have ended badly.
Yeah. You didn't break any bones?
No, it
Well,
was
we
zoom,
could've-
zoom, zoom.
You would have had
Like
a
a
different
roadrunner.
ride
Yeah, you never will forget
in
that.
an
And
ambulance instead of a bus.
my first thought, my heart was like pounding in my chest. It was like running.
Oh,
Yeah, it was not funny at the time, but then when I look back, it was something I always remembered. You know how things stick
traumatic.
with
PTSD you have probably.
you? Yeah, that and the formaldehyde. I don't know.
Yeah,
Right.
we
Oh
got
my
to know
God.
that.
Can't win. Anyway, so how about we do some updates for everyone that's listening? As you know, it looks like there's some folks that are actually watching. Thank you. And so why don't we give some updates on where we are with our planning?
All right, I'll start if you want. I think it's coming along quite nicely. We have a lot of things in the works, and as I shared the minutes, Kim is working on the wording for the class donations for the class gift and the invite, which will go out in March, which is today. First day is today. So that's coming along nicely, and we've had lots of help. The really nice thing I love is Susan Gencarella is still at Westerly High School, and she's the class advisor there, and she's our liaison between our committee and the school, and has been really instrumental in getting the principal to get back to us about our class gift, which, as most of you know, is going to be donations towards the kids that really need help in school. The money will be going towards things like yearbooks or prom tickets or things that kids can't afford. It's a little different times than when we grew up, and times are tough right now. So, but Susan has so much energy, and she's been wonderful. Matter of fact, we're going to have her on The Buzz, and she'll talk a little bit about high school and how wonderful she loves just mentoring kids there. And we've had great help with all of this. Kim, you've been so incredible about all the
You too.
technology and the, doing the sharing of the promotions. And we've had Scott and Mary Ellen's working on some things. She'll update you. We've got Charla and Sylvia working on a lot of promotional stuff. I hope everybody's been enjoying some of the fun stuff on there.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, I thought maybe I'd use this time to tell people who we're looking for still. We've gotten a lot of emails, which is good because we're trying to cut costs and not have to snail mail everything. So most will go out by email, but we're still looking for Joyce Allen and Gail Anderson, Jody Gavitt, Lois Joyce, Lori Loomis, Ann Mazzata, Diane Spencer, Mary Toronto, Tim Badone, Steve Bernard, James Burns, Ricky Corfield, Terry Doonan, Alan Passetti, and Louis Renna. So if anybody has any information of how to get a hold of them, their address, email, cell phone, or whatever, if you could private message me, that would be awesome. But I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to be a good time.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Mary Ellen, you have anything to add?
Well, one thing that I'm working on is basically our story. As you may know, the class of 71, there were a lot of musicians, and Roomful of Blues kind of came from that class in some ways. So they had a tremendous story and got a lot of publicity and so forth. And when we think about it, our story, as you know, Wendy pointed out a number of weeks ago now, we were in the beginning of Title IX, as an example, and that really had an impact on us for sure and everything going forward. Um, and we were towards the end of the Vietnam War, and you know there were so many things, and our memories, just our memories of high school, what was important to us. So anyone, I'm getting ready to submit something to Nancy Burns Fazaro for the Westerly Sun Front Porch News section. So if anybody wants to share something, you know, that they think of that was really compelling to them, you know, during high school, or to Diane's point, just growing up in Westerly. That would be wonderful because we want to make it everyone's story.
Mm.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
know, in terms of the reunion, I think sometimes I've been on the reunion committee at Providence College for many years, and people sometimes are hesitant to come to the reunion because they have this idea that, you know, in our minds we've aged, but everybody else is going to look like they're 18, and we're going to walk in as 67 or 68 or however old we are. But you know what? We've all aged. We've all had challenges. You know, we all have a different appreciation for things now, I think. And whether, you know, people who were kind of in your group are going or not, by all means come, join us. Because I think you'll find an awful lot of camaraderie and fun. So, my thought.
Definitely.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah.
Well, that's about wraps it up for this broadcast. Just wanted to let everyone know that if you have an interest in coming on the broadcast to talk about where you are, what you're doing, you know, maybe some ideas or you know whatever to catch up, just direct message me so that I can add you to the schedule. And so I'm not sure how much we'll be doing these broadcasts, but I do think they are effective. And it's nice to see someone in person and to really, you know, get the scoop and kind of reconnect. Sometimes you can't reconnect like by a phone or whatever. So it's nice to do that, you know, in person, which is really on Zoom or.
Sylvia had problems again, and she said she was sorry, but she wanted to update people about the reunion as well, but she's not able to. One thing, she's been
on again.
Very helpful
Yes,
getting people's addresses, emails, and she's working along with Eileen Foote has been instrumental in helping, and she and Scott are working on, and Lori Shanti too, some of our classmates that have passed, and we'll do a nice memorial table there. We'll put something on Facebook as well, or our new YouTube channel. So yeah, she's been wonderful with that. But yeah, we'll have her on again. And I think there's been a few people that I've talked to that want to come on. So
that's good. That's
yeah,
good.
I think it'll be really interesting. You know?
Yeah, and just remember, it's low key. It's just like you're in your living room, only you know you're on a screen, and so I think you know it would be great to have others on and to share their experiences and etc. And it's always nice to visit. So anyway, so wonderful to have you guys on and to catch up and to hear more about you know your last 50 years, you know, and what you've been doing, and you're all doing great work. And anyway, so we will see you again soon, and have a great night. And thanks again for watching.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Kim.
Thank you.
Kim, great job.